Hey, welcome back, Vision fans. Ready Player Will here. Today I'm doing the Garmia review. This is a piece of equipment coming out tomorrow with the raid for Diabolos, and really just look at some stats, look at my overall feelings on it, get some input in, and yeah, go from there. So my general thoughts, I don't think it's significantly better than what's available already. I mean, it can be when maxed and put on the perfect person, but overall, I'm really unimpressed with this item. We'll get to why. In a second. The power creeps in the passive effect only, like the actual equipment statistic, it's relatively minor, the increases, if you even want to consider that at all. And so the passive effect, obviously, you know, we'll get to what it is in a second. It's magic attack up, I'm sorry, it's magic percent up. Surprise, surprise. The benefit primarily to Yuna, just because the X-Job partners that, you know, as they get awakened, they have much higher health pools, so the extra magic will help her heal more. That's really what it comes down to, in my opinion. It's not even for offensive potency, per se. It has less of an impact on lower magic stat healers, because the other healers, their healing spells don't put out enough in terms of maximizing the extra magic, but DPS overall will like it, so we'll get to a stat breakdown of that as well. And finally, I think it's possible there's a vital build, a world where that exists, but probably not. I don't even know why I have that there. So let's look at it. So long story short, it's got a fair amount of HP for a cloth. It's pretty great. It's got a similar resemblance to Smart Cloak, which we'll see in a second, where it's got a shield and a barrier build, and this top one's a vital build, but the passive is magic of 30% up. And we're getting into why I'm not overly impressed at first glance. So here's the thing. Here's the Smart Cloak. Defense of 9 and 10 on the shield, 4 and 21 on the barrier, 8% magic resistance is the passive when you max it. Let's look at the comparison. So Garmia does have more HP, about 150 more, but the shield stat, basically the same. You're looking at 9 and 10 versus 8 and 9. It's like the same thing. SPR, technically worse. Smart Cloak is 4 and 21. This is 4 and 18. Yes, it's got more accuracy of 4, but like 4 accuracy, that's piddly numbers. It's not a material enough amount. And then the passive, magic of 30%. And here's why I'm almost kind of like on it, is because if you don't +5 this, there's almost no value in this equipment, in my opinion. Like, if you do not +5 this, just for the Smart Cloak, because it's basically the same stats. Like, if you're still 1 or a 2, 10% magic is not going to make a material difference at all to you. But you're, you know, that's kind of why I'm kind of And the thing is, when you compare it to the other raid items, all of these items were like really unique and potentially game-changing. The Alexandrite ring, 5% elemental resist to all elements, and a massive amount of aim, which for, you know, blind characters needed. Bale of Burgeonet and Elf's Cloak were some much-needed pierce resistance in the game, where it literally didn't exist. They also have Disable Resist and Confuse Resist. Elf's Cloak's a crit avoid for, like, it's the highest crit avoid in the game. Defense Bracer, you know, just as it pertains to Disable Resist, Missile Resist. Platinum Robe here is the only cloth that is missile resist in the game. Platinum Helm is like a super great hybrid item where it's slash resist and SPR. Soul of Thamasa, the same idea, magic and SPR. So like really hard-hitting, interesting, unique items here. And then look at the Garmia Cloth, and I'm like, it's a Smart Cloth, but more offensively oriented. Like, really? That's it? So, you know, when you consider the amount of time it takes to grind the raid, the amount of books it takes to make a +5, I'm almost questioning, like, is it really worth it? So let's get into some numbers, and we'll actually crack that question. So, like, what does 30% magic look like? And this is a unit example. I essentially, like, made her, like, maximum magic possible just to demonstrate the height of what you could potentially do. So this is, like, max Bahamut, max vision card. Long story short, with the Garmia, the magic stat you want to really focus on here, magic stat of 1492. That's a fuck ton of magic. 1,492. If she's wearing the Smart Cloak instead, same build, except Smart Cloak instead, 1,374. So you're talking an extra difference, about 120 magic. And so, yeah, 120 magic is a lot, but 1,374 for magic is already a fucking lot. Like, how much do you really need the extra magic for on her? And the long story short is, when you're healing units using Kiraga, I did the math for this. Oops. If it's a 50 faith unit, I know there's a lot of numbers here, all you need to know is on average, it's about 9% more healing. That's what that magic number comes out to. And the actual physical number, depending on if it's, you know, Mooncrest and you have Aeon Bond to bump the healing potency up, it's really anywhere from like 400 to 450. So, like, you have to ask yourself, is a +5 item that's basically a Smart Cloak with some extra magic worth an extra 400 to 450 healing? You know, maybe not. And if it's a 97 faith unit, you know, they receive more healing. It's still the same percent boost, but it ends up being an extra like 525 to 600 healing. Is that material? Because, I mean, theoretically, this is what we're looking at here. Garmia Cloak, with everything activated, will do 7.5 thousand HP healing. Without it, with the Smart Cloak, it's still 6.9,000. 6.9,000 and a fuck ton of healing still. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you really need the extra 600? Question of materiality, I'm honestly not sure. Now, I'm going to grind for the item anyway because I never want to miss out on these, but it's a legitimate question to be asked. It'll obviously help fill the X unit health pool, what happens to be bigger, but I don't really know if it's materially, so the answer is probably yes, but, you know, it's a debate. And then on Eldyra, it's actually a much less impactful thing than I thought. So I did the same thing. I built her maxed for magic. This is with the Garmia. It's a magic of 1,136. With the Smart Cloak, it's 1,065. Literally a boost of only like, what, 90? Is it even 90 or is it 100? It's 90. Not materially significant per se. I mean, maybe offensively it'll help, but when you're doing the healing, height 3 Cura, assuming that they're on the height of 3, meaning they get the extra 0.6 on the modifier, she does 7% more healing as opposed to Yuna's 9. So not only does Yuna benefit more, but the other like calculator related healers don't get as much impact. And if you're looking at the actual numbers, on average she's healing like 2.8. This will make her heal for 3,000 instead. It's an extra 187 healing. Like how much is that really gonna affect the unit overall? My opinion, like basically not at all. You're going from 2.8 to 3,000. Like that's a negligible amount of extra healing considering the amount of hours and work it takes to grind the materials for the raid and the 1,700 books. Like that's a lot of investment for probably not that much benefit if you're putting it on a character like this. And if it's a 97 faith unit, like it's not that much more. It's actually 250 healing, so do with that what what you will. In terms of damage potential though, I obviously do think the DPS will benefit from it. So I did a scenario where I built up a Titus, who's a meta character for now, and I built him up to average build that we see at the high end of the game, and I built up a high-end Medina, same idea, Bahamut Esper, maxed her magic. Long story short, Smart Cloak, she does 5.5 thousand damage. With the Garmia, it's 5.9. So she does an extra like 450 damage to him. Again, this is like maxed, right? Like max magic and high-end Titus. It's overall 8% more damage. Is that material? Maybe, maybe not, because here's the thing, even with the Garmia Cloak, she's not going to one-shot him. Do you know what I mean? Like, in this meta, you kind of need to, because Yuna can heal people up to full super easily. So unless this, like, significantly crosses some damage thresholds for the DPS, it's honestly not a huge improvement. Particularly because you're using this, equipment where they might have a better piece of cloth that they might want to equip instead. Is it really worth it? So which build is best? Just kind of getting this last question that everyone always asks. To me, it's absolutely the shield build, barrier build, the bottom line of barrier build. No questions asked. Because to me, the difference between the shield and the barrier, you're only getting 4 more defense. That's basically nothing. Like 4% extra mitigation is nothing, but you're giving up 9 SPR, which is far more impactful in my opinion. That's to me that's a no-brainer. And then again, you kind of have to +5 because in my opinion, if you're going for the +1 or 2, 10% magic or 8% magic isn't nearly enough to move the needle. You might as well just equip the Smart Cloak or do something different altogether to get your stats. So that's kind of my opinion in a nutshell. I obviously am, like I said, going to grind for it. I'm going to get it just because I want to be able to max what I can of the game. Who knows what use this might have in ways that we aren't aware of yet as it pertains to the balance of the game. But at first glance, compared to the other raid items, considering the amount of time and material investment it takes, I'm actually not impressed with it so far. So for those of you that are going for it, good luck getting it. Hopefully you do find some legitimate use, and looking forward to doing some more content for you all soon.